Hi, and welcome to Unit 8, Day 6. Today we're going to be reviewing for our transformation test. Number 1, if each vertex of a figure is dilated with a scale factor of 4, what will be the effect on the perimeter of the resulting figure? What's great about perimeter is that the scale factor matches with the perimeter as it does with the sides. So when you have a scale factor of 4, all your sides increase by a factor of 4. The same thing happens with your perimeter. It's going to increase by a factor of 4. So the perimeter will be 4 times bigger than the pre-image. Okay, nice and simple. If my scale factor was a half, my perimeter would be half the size of the pre-image. If my scale factor was 8, then my perimeter would be 8 times bigger than the pre-image. Okay, so kind of nice about perimeter and scale factor. Number 2, the figure below is reflected in the x-axis and then rotated 180 degrees about the origin. What will be the coordinates of m double prime, h double prime, and s double prime? So I have my pre-image here, MHS, and I want to reflect it across the x-axis, and then I want to rotate it 180 degrees about the origin. So let's see what our points are, our pre-image points. M is the point -8, 7. H is the point -5, 8. And S is the point -6, 4. It says the first thing I'm going to do to this figure is I am going to reflect it in the x-axis. Okay, so that is the first thing we're going to do, and that's going to take us not to our image, but kind of like to our pit stop. M prime, H prime, S prime. Okay, if I forgot my rules for reflecting in the x-axis, then I'm going to pull up my transformation rules on my formula chart, which I happen to have here. You'll have access to them when you take the test. And I am reflecting in the x-axis, so reflection, x-axis, my point is going to reflect to x and the opposite of y. So I'm going to go x and then the opposite of y. Okay, so let's do that. My x is -8. The opposite of 7 is -7. My x is -5. The opposite of 8 is -8. The x is -6. The opposite of -4, or the opposite of 4, is -4. And this is reflecting across the x-axis, which is my horizontal axis. So everything that is above my figure is going to be the same distance below my figure. So right now M is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 above. So its reflection will be 7 below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At the point -8, -7, which is where we said it would be, right? So here is M prime. H prime we said is at -5, -8. And again, same distance below for H prime. And S prime is at -6, -4. S prime, and again, it's the same distance from the x-axis. And this is not my image because I have one more thing I need to do to this. This is just like a pit stop on the way to my final image. Okay, it says the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate 180 degrees about the origin. So now I'm going to rotate 180 degrees. I don't remember that rule, so I'm going to go get my formula chart and see the rule for a 180 degree rotation. It says I take my last point and I do the opposite of x, the opposite of y. So I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. I'm going to be doing the opposite of x and the opposite of y. And remember, we don't apply that to our pre-image, we apply that to our pit stop. Okay? So I'm going to call this from m prime, we're going to go to m double prime. The opposite of x, the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. The opposite of y, the opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. H double prime. The opposite of x is 5. The opposite of y is 8. S double prime. The opposite of x is 6. The opposite of y is 4. Okay, so I expect if I'm going to go 180 degrees about the origin, I know I'm going to move 2 quadrants. I'm going to move 90 degrees and another 90 degrees. I should end up here if I'm going to rotate around. M double prime is at 8, 7. M double prime. H double prime is at 5, 8, 5, 8. H double prime. And S is at 6, 4. S double prime. Here is my image after the 2 transformations. And these are my coordinates. Okay, let's do one more for this video. Number 3, point S is translated 4 units right and 3 units down, and then reflected across the y-axis to point S double prime 3, 1. What was the original coordinate of S? So we're only dealing with one point here, which is kind of nice rather than a whole bunch of different things. Okay, so let's see. Point S, my pre-image. The first thing we're going to do is translate 4 units right and 3 units down. So I know that's going to be x plus 4 and then y minus 3. 4 units to the right, 3 units down. Then I'm going to reflect across the y-axis. So then I'm going to reflect across the y-axis, and again, if I forgot how to do that, I have my handy chart here. Reflect on the y-axis. That says my xy reflects to the opposite of x, y. The opposite of x, y. Okay? Now, what's kind of neat is this time they already gave me the final answer. They gave me the double prime. My S double prime was 3, 1. So 3, 1. That's my S double prime. Okay? Now to get there, what I did was I reflected my S prime across the y-axis. So to work backwards, I'm going to reflect it back across, right? Or if I'm using my coordinates, I can say, well, what was the opposite of x? If it's 3, what was the opposite to get there? The opposite of 3 would have been negative 3. So that the opposite of negative 3 gives me my 3. Y didn't change, so my y would still be 1. So my S prime was at negative 3, 1. I didn't put that in the right place, did I? Negative 3, 1. S single prime. Let me move this one to the correct spot. This one should have been at 3, 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, not this one, for my S double prime. This is my S double prime. Okay? All right, so now we have found our way to our pit stop. We still need to make it all the way back to our starting spot. I need to get to my pre-image, what was here, to get here. When we're doing our translation, we need to, again, we're working backwards. What did I add 4 to get a negative 3? To work backwards from that, I'm really going to be subtracting the 4 to work backwards, right? So negative 3 minus 4, that's going to put my x value at, it had to have been a negative 7. So that when I went negative 7 plus 4, I got my negative 3. And then working backwards, what did I subtract 3 from to get 1? I'm going to work backwards, so I'm going to add 3 and say this is 4. So that 4 minus 3 gives me my 1. So S had to be at negative 7, 4. Negative 7, 4 was my S value. Okay, and again, we can go back and check it. It says S is translated 4 units right and 3 units down. So if I go 4 units right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 units down, 1, 2, 3, I can see I end up right here at S. And then we reflect across the y-axis. I'm 1, 2, 3 away from the y-axis. So if I go 1, 2, 3 away from the y-axis, I can see I end up right here at my 3, 1, my S double prime. The correct one, not the one I put in the wrong spot. Okay? So my answer is the point -7, 4. All right, so there is the first page of your transformations test review. Come on back to the next video to see the answers for the second page. All right, thank you so much for watching.